Today we're going to learn about hotel vocabulary for IELTS. I'm going to teach you some verbs, nouns, and adjectives that you can use to describe or talk about hotels in your IELTS exam. So first of all, let's look at nouns. And we're going to look at the parts of a hotel first, and then the people in the hotel second. Here you can see a picture of a part of a hotel. What do you think this is? This is a lobby. A lobby. So lobby is the word we use for an entrance area in a public building, such as a hotel. You might say when you arrive at the hotel, you will be blown away by the beautiful lobby, which dates back to the 18th century. Now, what about this? What does this picture represent? You can see there's food, but in the background, it looks like the person's room. This is room service. So we use room service as a noun to describe the service that is provided in or by a hotel that allows guests to order food and drink to be brought to their rooms. For example, two people, one might say, "I don't feel like going out for dinner tonight." The other will say, "Let's just order room service then." Okay, where's the menu? Now, when we look at these pictures, of course you know these are beds. But what kind of beds are they? Well, the most simple terms we might use are double bed and single bed. But when it comes to hotels, it's usually not quite so simple. And if you're going to book a hotel room online, you'll need to know some other words. These, for example, are the most common terms for beds in hotels. We've got single, double, queen, and king sized beds. An example sentence: each room on this floor comes with a queen size bed and a single bed. Now, what does this picture show us? This is called a mini bar. That is the name for a small fridge that you would find in a hotel room. You might have a small fridge at home, but we usually don't say minibar unless you're at a hotel. For example, someone might say, "I never take anything from the minibar. It's always so expensive." And it's true. These are usually very highly priced. Do you know what these are called? These are towels. Towels. A towel is a piece of thick, absorbent cloth used for drying oneself. These are, of course, quite important when you are traveling and you go to a hotel or hostel or a guest house. For example, to help protect the environment, most hotels change the sheets and towels every few days. Maybe it's not clear from this picture, but what do you think this is? Notice the steam and the wood paneling. This is called a sauna. A sauna is a room that is used to get very hot temperatures or steam in order to clean or refresh people. These are very common in cold countries like the Scandinavian nations. So an example would be, in some countries, it is very common for hotels to include a sauna for their guests. In this picture, you can see various things. There's soap and shampoo, maybe some body lotion. So what would we call these collectively? These are known as toiletries. Toiletries are articles used in washing and taking care of one's body, and you will often find these when you stay at a hotel. For example, you might hear someone say, "If you forget your toiletries, most hotels will provide you with the basics for free." Okay, so we've looked at some parts of hotels and features of hotels. Now we're going to look at some more nouns, and these refer to the hotel staff. So this picture, somebody is handing over a key. What kind of key? It is a car key. This person is a valet. You might be thinking that's a strange pronunciation, especially for a word to end in ET. And yes, this comes from French, so it is not really a properly English word, but it is used in English-speaking countries. It is more common in America than the UK, but we also use it here sometimes. A valet is a person who will park your car when you go to a hotel or a casino. An example sentence would be, in Las Vegas, almost every hotel or casino has a valet. Just be careful that you give your car keys to the real one. And this is true. There are some people who will pretend to be a valet in order to steal cars. Next, you can see these two people and the word reception. So this is a clue to their job title. What would we call them? So we can call these people receptionists, or you might also say front desk staff. So the area would be called a reception or the front desk, and you can call them either of these words. In any case, this is a person employed in a hotel to receive guests and deal with their bookings. They are the face of the hotel, usually the first person you will talk to, except if they have a valet. So, for example, the front desk staff are there to help you check in and check out. What is this lady doing? She is cleaning. So, what is her job? Well, we might say cleaner, but that's a bit general. In a hotel, there's a more specific term. We say housekeeping. Housekeeping. So this actually refers to all the people who clean the rooms together, their area of the hotel, their employment. This is called housekeeping. They are in charge of keeping rooms clean. For example, if you don't want housekeeping to clean your room, leave a do not disturb sign on the door. Next, this young man here is carrying people's luggage for them. This person is called a bellboy. A bellboy. This is an attendant in a hotel, traditionally a young man, who performs services such as carrying guests' luggage. So an example sentence, if you need help with your baggage, the bellboy will take it to your room, but don't forget to tip them. You are supposed to tip people in hotels in certain countries like the United States. So we've seen quite a few nouns now. Let's look at a couple of verbs. So this picture is supposed to represent the process of finding and arranging a hotel before you go there. You might search Google, or you might go to a website like booking.com. So what verb do we use? Well, the name booking.com was a clue because the verb is book. We say to book a room. This means to reserve accommodation. You can also say to reserve a room, but this is not so common nowadays. For example, two people are talking. The first one says, "This room looks great, let's book it." The other might say, "It's a bit expensive, don't you think? $400, can we really afford that?" What is this man doing? Well, we can see he is at reception or the front desk. So what do you do there? Well, he could be checking in or he could be checking out. It's impossible to say from this picture. To check in means to register someone upon their arrival at a hotel, and to check out means the opposite. It is when you leave the hotel, they will take you off of the booking. For example, you can check in any time after 2 p.m. Checkout is at noon the following day. Now, some of you might notice check-in is not hyphenated here. Checkout is. The difference is check-in is used as a phrasal verb and checkout is used as a noun. We can see an explanation here. So check-in and checkout are both phrasal verbs, so we can use them as a verb to describe the action of doing something. Check-in and check-out, hyphenated, are nouns. These are actually a little uncommon, but in the previous situation, that is basically when you would use it. In a hotel, they might say checkout refers to the time at which you check out or the process by which you check out. Right, finally, we'll come to adjectives for hotel descriptions. When you're speaking or writing in English and in the IELTS exam, you really want to be descriptive. Give details, give color, excitement to your language. Here we have a list of adjectives, and I've grouped them as positive, negative, or neutral. So positive, of course, means if you were happy with a place and you want to speak highly of it. So we might describe a hotel room as spacious, luxurious, pristine. This means very, very clean. Charming, cozy, fancy, romantic, or swanky. Swanky is very informal. I would not put this in the IELTS writing test, but you can definitely use it for speaking. You'll notice here I've omitted the basics. I have not put pretty, beautiful, comfortable, or good because this is a little too simple and I assume everyone who's watching already knows these. For neutral, these are words that are just descriptive, but it's not necessarily good or bad. Old-fashioned, modest, average, decent, modern. So depending on the context, some of these could be positive or negative, but they don't necessarily have a positive or negative connotation. Reasonable, acceptable, and unpretentious. So the last one there, unpretentious, that's the opposite of pretentious, which means trying too hard to be something you're not. So unpretentious is kind of a good thing, but in terms of a hotel room, it's a little basic, but not too bad. Finally, negative words, shabby, that means kind of ugly or dirty a little bit. Run down is old, but in a bad way. Cramped means too small. Filthy, bare, tasteless. Flea-ridden, well, this is perhaps the worst thing you could say about a hotel room. It means that there are fleas, bugs in the room. And the last one, tacky. This word means tasteless, and basically a room that is decorated in a way that makes it look cheap and ugly, we would call tacky. Again, this is a slightly informal word, maybe less so than swanky, but you could definitely use it in the speaking test. I've given you what I think are some very useful words today, but if you want to learn more by yourself, and I suggest that you do, you can look at real hotel advertisements online. Websites like booking.com are great for this. And you can check them and look through the listings to see items of new vocabulary. They will often describe themselves in really great ways. Be careful when you're reading the reviews though, because oftentimes you have people from different countries around the world writing reviews in English and their language will not be very good. And so you should not try to learn from that. Instead, go and find the proper English that has been written by the hotel owner or the website owner. And if you want the very best IELTS materials relating to vocabulary, grammar, or any kind of advice, you should go to TED-IELTS.com. You can also find us as TED-IELTS on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.